Pro Football Focus, which is one of the best in terms of analyzing data and what it means in football. Steve Palazzolo is one of the key components of putting all that stuff into digestible bites for a lot of us. And you see Steve on the YouTube channel, on the social media for PFF. And I want to bring Steve in because he's the perfect guest to have the day before the draft, and add to that the Gronk story here. As you run numbers and look at the analytics, Gronkowski with Brady to the Bucks. What do we need to know as a bottom line in the analytics world?
Yeah, that was my reaction though too. I jumped into my pool when I heard that was all happening. I mean, look, with Brady at 43 years old, the key here is he's not the same guy he was, just a few years ago, where he could carry anybody pretty much to a Super Bowl. Not that he's had always bad weapons, but you want to put a good supporting cast around him. So I think it's a perfect low risk, potentially high reward trade for the Bucs, right? I mean, they trade a 4th round pick just to see what Gronk has. And he was a shell of himself back in 2018. But if you protect him a little bit, maybe it's only 30, 35 snaps a game. And I think it's the familiarity that Brady has. Brady is absolutely precision in his expectations for his receivers. There'll be a challenge going to Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, who are great receivers. But having Gronk, having that familiar face, just puts so much pressure on the defense. They just have too many weapons to cover.
Steve, before I get to your mock, I want to just read you a quote on some of the big players and have you just give me another sentence or two reaction. Joe Burrow, PFF quote, most accurate quarterback we've ever scouted. What about that skill jumped out?
He completed about 70% of his passes at 10-plus yards, which is just absurd. So accuracy is the thing that translates to the NFL. He just didn't miss throws. One of the best college football seasons of all time. So the Bengals should be getting their franchise guy.
Chase Young, easily the best edge prospect we've ever scouted. What are the stick-out qualities of the Ohio State edge rusher?
Yeah, I think with edge rushers, a lot of times you see the burst off the line of scrimmage, and that's great. He has that, but he also has the technique. He wins with his hands. So we've graded Myles Garrett, the 2 Bosas. He surpassed them last year, the best season we've ever seen. So, he should be a pretty special player at the next level.
We just had CeeDee Lamb on, the Oklahoma wide receiver. The PFF quote on him, most advanced wide receiver prospect since we started grading. What is it, route running, understanding of the game? What it makes him so advanced?
I think it's the route running and the fact that he can win everywhere. He's really good at the back shoulder game. He's good at the intermediate level. He has an amazing feel for where defenders are. So you'll see him all the time catch the ball and know exactly where the leverage of the defender is and then maximize yards after the catch. I like the fact that Lamb can really win all over the field. That's what makes him so special.
I love these quick thumbnails. And one last one here. Alabama wide receiver Jerry Jeudy, every bit as good a prospect as Julio and Cooper, meaning Julio Jones and Amari Cooper. That's some pretty tall stuff there.
Yeah, just completely different style from those guys. Julio, of course, the freak that could do it all, and Amari Cooper, a fantastic route runner. I think Jerry Jeudy wins a lot from the slot, the best route runner in this draft. His cutting ability is just amazing, both before the catch and after it. So different style prospect, but he'll be extremely productive. And him and Lamb have been battling for that top wide receiver spot this entire draft process for us.
All right, I hit the link and I open up your mock and I go, whoa, you've got Miami trading up to 2 to get Tua. How much of the injury factor are you factoring into that?
Just a little bit. I think it is a factor, and I always do my mocks based off what I would do. And I think Miami coming into this draft, that is what they need to do. There's a lot of rumors about them getting Herbert, but I think Tua is the play. I don't think he's as risky as Herbert, even with the injury concerns. So, Miami's got these 3 draft picks to play with. I think they should do what they can to go get Tua, and I think it's Burrow, Tua, and then a drop off with the next few quarterbacks. So I think that would be the move for Miami, just because that accuracy and pocket presence that Tua brings to the table.
And a lot of folks have linked Okudah with the Lions at 3. But if Chase Young was available at 3, wouldn't you think Detroit would take a guy who you describe as the best edge prospect we've ever scouted, or that somebody would come in there and offer a bunch to get somebody that good in Chase Young?
Yeah, this is where the nerdy numbers come in, and our guys have done a great job of trying to break up how does a good pass defense get built. And it is actually from back to forward. The coverage is more important. So chasing a great coverage player, even though they're tough to project, will do more for your team. I do think in reality that the Lions would love to have Chase Young and they'd sprint to the podium and all that stuff, but the Lions play more man coverage than any team in the league. They just bring in Desmond Trufant. They need another corner. I think that would be the play for them, to add Okudah, try to win with great players in the secondary rather than the edge rusher, who is spectacular but doesn't actually move the needle as much as a potentially great corner.
Well, let's dig a little deeper on that, because I think folks who have just poo-pooed analytics are starting to understand every team in the league has analytics departments. You and PFF, the guys there, work with teams who want to see certain data or see it kind of maneuvered a certain way so they can understand better. Are you telling me that what you've seen over the last few years with the PFF research and data is that the back end, the corners, the safeties, that's going to have a bigger impact on a successful pass defense than those pass rushers, thus valuation grades change a little bit?
Yeah, and I think there's a few reasons for that. Like, it's easy to predict pass rush. Like, I feel really good about telling you that Chase Young is going to be one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. It's harder to project coverage players, but if they're good, the examples I use of the 3 Patriots Super Bowl winners of the last decade, they did not have one of our better pass rush grades. They ranked in the 20s actually getting after the quarterback, but they had top 3 coverage units. The Philadelphia Eagles for a few years had top 3 pass rush grades, but the one year they finally snuck into the top 10 from a coverage standpoint was 2017. They win the Super Bowl. And the most recent example was the Ravens last year. They lost all of their top players in the front 7, but they just kept adding Earl Thomas, and they traded for Marcus Peters, and they had one of the best defenses in the league last year because they could cover really well. So it's more the coverage protects the pass rush, I think, a little bit more than the other way around. And that's counterintuitive to even what I believed through the years until the numbers started to point me in the other direction.
You start to see all this belief in the numbers, and you help understand that. Grading offensive linemen, and we've heard talk of 4 offensive tackles maybe in the first 11 picks of this draft. How difficult has that become in this era where it's a lot of the quarterback gets it out of the shotgun? It's sometimes no step, sometimes 1 step, and a quick hitch, and they throw the ball. We don't see guys protect in college, especially those offensive tackles, the way we see in the pros. How is that in terms of trying to grade people for the draft?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think college offenses are they make things a little bit more difficult as far as projection goes. One of the things we've done, though, we have grades on every single snap, but sometimes we have to take the most valuable snaps. For an offensive lineman, we came up with something called true pass sets, where we said, look, if we take out play action, if we take out those quick drop backs, and we say, when you have to drop back, or when the quarterback has to drop back and you have to pass protect, and the rusher knows that you're passing, how well do you perform in those on those snaps? And the tricky part is a guy like Mekhi Becton, who's a fantastic prospect, only had about 70 of those plays last year, whereas other tackles might have 100, 150, 200. So we try to isolate the things that matter most, that project best at the next level. And that's one way that we use all of that data to say, okay, I feel a little bit better about this prospect because I've seen him perform in NFL type situations just a little bit more than this next guy.
Last 30 seconds, I talk about pivot points in the draft, and the Chargers and a quarterback are the obvious question out there. Do you think the Chargers go quarterback at their 6th spot?
I just have a feeling. I'm buying into all the smoke screens that the Dolphins want Herbert, so I really think that they're going to take Herbert, and the Chargers might win the draft by getting Tua. I think there's a drop-off between Tua and Herbert. I think Miami is a little concerned about Tua's injuries. The Chargers are the absolute pivot point in the draft. I don't think they take Herbert if he's there. I think they take Tua if he's there, and potentially win the entire draft and compete with the Chiefs in the AFC West.
Whoa, that would be big stuff. People forget how good the Chargers were in 2018 after the disappointing 2019. There's about a 1,200-page draft guide that the Pro Football Focus, PFF folks have put out. It's unreadable all at once, but it's amazing stuff. Steve's a huge part of that. Hey, thanks. I appreciate you getting nerdy with us, and hopefully the fans enjoy some of the draft conversation that's happening for these teams. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.